Good evening. Happy midweek. Glory and honor to the Father Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the creator of all things that exist, and Messiah, the prophet, priest, and king, and only begotten Son of the Father, the one who is worthy of praise because he is the atonement for the sins of his people, as well as the righteousness before the Father for us. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh. And glory and honor to Messiah Yahweh Shai. Greetings to the awakening 12 tribes of the children of Israel and to those Gentile bloodlines that come among us that are with us through the faith of Messiah. Greetings also to Brother David Harriet. Oh, wait a minute. Brother Lonnie, Brother Cherokee Indian, Organic Fanatic, Gary Joseph, Naviska, Listen to Your Body, Jay House, Stephen Kelly, Arkawan Banya, Brother Wade. I just saw just now, which caused me pause. Brother David Harriet reported that Brother Weothesia's wife passed away this evening. Please remember Brother Weothesia's wife. She had been sick. She had been dealing with some ailments, even when we went um, to Ireland and fellowship with him. He was actually coming from taking care of his wife. I did not know until just now that it was as serious as that. So please pray for the family of Brother Tito Bon Weothesia in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland. Yes, please pray for Brother Weothesia and his family as they have lost. He has lost his wife to the sleep of death. Uh, ask the Father Yah to bring comfort to that family by the Spirit that only He can. Yes. All right. I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you for letting us know, Brother Harriet. Thank you so much for letting us know about that. We will definitely, please remember the family, Weothesia's family in Ireland, in your prayer. May she indeed rest in peace, and may she very soon rise in power. May the Most High comfort the family with this hope, as we know it's not very long. She would have to remain in the dust, not very long at all. So please pray for his family. Thank you all for your prayers and thoughts for Brother Weothesia. Um, wow. Um, uh, what was I saying? Man, it threw me off completely. Okay. Today, of course, it's Wednesday. And so on Wednesday, we are dealing with current events in prophecy. We're dealing with current events in prophecy. And I wanted to go through Daniel chapter 2 in respect to the statue that Nebuchadnezzar saw, that Daniel interpreted for Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 2. And the reason, of course, we're going to go to chapter 2 with respect to this statue is because excuse me. It's just a surprise of it. I didn't know that the illness she was dealing with was a life and death illness. I knew she was dealing with some things, but Sorry. Ooh, okay. Yes. Yeah, that caught me off guard. Okay. The reason, sorry. The reason we're going through this Daniel chapter 2, especially the end part of this statute, is the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had and the interpretation given to Daniel, the Hebrew Israelite, is the setting the stage for events that stretch all the way to the end. We live at the end. And so, yes, brother Weothesia's wife will not be long in the grave. We know that. She will not be long in the grave. The word has shown us, the Father has blessed us with the knowledge, and understanding that there's not many more than 7 years left. And there'll be no more death to the family of the Israelites, of which Sister Weothesia was. She is sanctified in him. Praise the Most High. Yes. So, and the current events for today have to deal with this man that you see in the thumbnail. Did you see the thumbnail? The man in the thumbnail. His name is Doug Wilson. The thing is, I want to say this before we get started. In the Christian church, behind every one of the prophecies they attempt to interpret, there is a sense of fear of what's coming. The coming judgment, they always have a sense of fear behind it. But I would like to say to us who are awakening, for us is not a sense of fear. It's a sense of anticipation. And that's different. When you have a sense of anticipation, it's a little scary, but it's exciting at the same time. We are dealing with it as a sense of anticipation. And the reason is, brother, the word of the Most High, which we follow, this King James Bible, there are certain things in it that it tells us. As we know, it doesn't tell everybody. It tells us. And it's the Father's Spirit speaking through this word to talk to us. Okay? And there are certain things, for example, the principle of in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established, which when we're reading the Bible, we understand this is 2 or 3 different Hebrew Israelite prophets. Okay? It protects us from error because there's a lot of error out here, especially among Christians. Also, there are certain principles that the word gives us, and each one that I'm about to name, we know, we have went through them, and we know there's 4, 5, 6, 7 witnesses in some cases, definitely more than 2 or 3. One of them is the nation of Israel is his chosen people. Another one is it is not the UN created state of Israel. Another one is who the Israelites are as melanated people that escaped over the rivers of Ethiopia, which is Africa, and were taken into slavery sold by Hamites into the hands of the children of Japhet. Again, we have witnesses. I'm not just saying this. I'm saying it for us for the sake of time. But everything I just told you, if you're just listening to me for the first time and you're a Christian, everything I told you, I can give you 2, 3, 4, 5 witnesses of the Bible. That's different prophets saying the same thing. So there are certain foundational things who the Israelites are, where they are. The fact that they're the chosen ones of the only true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, there's certain things that are foundational principles. So that if you're reading the Bible for the truth and you're looking in these principles as 2 or 3 witnesses from the Bible, the whole Bible, you're taking the Bible as a holistic volume, which means you're looking at the whole thing from Genesis to Revelation as if it's one, because it really is. Just like the human body. We have eyes, we have ears, we have mouth, we have hands. And each of these are parts of the body. It's one body. So when you're looking at the body, you can't just look at one thing and think it's the body. It's the whole body, holistically. The Bible is a holistic book. You must look at it holistically and to understand it, to have a chance at understanding. It is not so with the religion of Christianity. It is not so. With Christianity, as I mentioned before, they use parts of the Bible. They do not look at it holistically. They use parts of it the way a man uses a woman's body and don't care about her, because that's exactly what it's like. They use parts of it the way a person would look at a buffet table, leaving some things and taking what they want. That's Christianity. When you're in a religion like that, okay, there is no solid interpretation. Everything is open to discussion. Everything is open to philosophical meaning. Nothing is set. Okay? So that you could have people that come with a movement claiming Christianity from one thing. For example, when Christopher Columbus came across the ocean, and he made stops in places where he enslaved people, where his diseased behind and all his diseased European friends enslaved people in the name of the Pope. They had an edict from the Pope that they could kill, enslave anybody that they consider a heretic, which is anybody that wasn't in Catholic inspired Christianity. That was what they believed. Okay. And so that was their interpretation. Then later on, you had people that were that was 1492. That was the 15th century. Then later on in the 16th century, you had a lot of people called reformers, mostly former Catholics, that decided the Catholic Church needed to be reformed. They had different ideas. Some of them became anti-slavery people, like the Puritans, like the Quakers. Some of them justify their hanging of the Hebrews by saying we were cursed by the Bible because of Ham. But see, there were all these different interpretations of the same book because it's a man-made religion. When you got a man-made religion, well, shoot, you can make anything. You can make it say anything you want, and they do. But the Bible tells you what Christianity is if you actually read it holistically. You see, Abraham was a prophet, and he wasn't a Christian. His chosen son, Yishak, Isaac, was a prophet, and he wasn't a Christian. The chosen seed of Yashar come from Jacob. He wasn't a Christian. Messiah came from the tribe of Judah. He wasn't a Christian. The Messiah himself did not create a religion of Christianity. but the Bible shows you where it comes from. And that's why we're looking, starting at Daniel chapter 2, because we're talking about the iron and the clay. Now, in Daniel chapter 2, I'm going to begin at verse 31. And I'm going to read down to verse 35. This is Daniel chapter 2, from verse 31 to verse 35. Thou, O king, sawest, this is Daniel talking to King Nebuchadnezzar. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote them, that smote the image, became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Now, I want you to notice something, couple of extremely important points about this that many people do not notice in reading it. And it's because of brainwashing from false religions of Christianity. Listen, did you notice that the iron went all the way into the feet of the image? Like the iron wasn't just the legs, it went into the legs and it went all the way into the feet of the image. And that at the end, it was clay and iron in the feet. Did you notice that? So it was clay and iron. And that this was one image. It wasn't all separate images. It was separate metals, but it was one image. Y'all catching that? It was separate metals. So you had gold, silver, brass, iron. And then you had something that wasn't a metal. It was clay. So you had one image. And it started as gold and it went down to, got to the feet of it. And in its feet was iron and clay, which tells you something. All of these images are one. They work together. They meld into one another. Okay, because it's one image. Number one. Number two, whatever represents the iron is going to exist until the end. Whatever represents the iron is going to exist until the end. Number two. Number three, the stone that hit it in the feet destroyed the whole image so that it didn't even exist anymore. So that the stone that hit this image that was made of the various metals destroyed the entire image so that the image didn't even exist anymore. Okay. Let's look at the part of the interpretation that has to do with the stone that hit the image and the iron and the clay in the feet. Let's start at verse. I'm going to start at verse 41. Same chapter 2, beginning at verse 41 and going from verse 4. Actually, let me start at verse 40, which is where the iron begins. So I'm going to start at verse 40. Daniel's interpreting this now from verse 40, and he goes down to verse 44. So Daniel is interpreting the image for Nebuchadnezzar, and we're starting at the iron. Okay, verse 40. And the fourth kingdom, so the iron is the fourth kingdom. We'll talk about that in a minute. And The fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron breaketh all these, it shall break in pieces and bruise. So the iron is an aggressive kingdom. It's a destroying kingdom, and it's a dominating kingdom. Of all the other metals, it's the least precious, but it's the hardest. Okay, so it's less precious than gold, less precious than silver, less precious than brass, but it's harder than all of those. So it can break everything in pieces and take over. It says it subdueth all things. So the iron is a subduing power. To subdue something means to bring it under your control and subjection. Does that so far? Do we got that so far? Okay, so to bring it under your control and subjection, that's the iron. And it lasts all the way to the end. Okay. Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, remember that? And part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. So at the end, the subduing power of the iron is there. But there's clay with it, which means even though it's a subduing power, it's not infallible. It's not indestructible. It's weak in some areas. Okay? Verse 43. Whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So they're going to try to connect. Listen carefully. They're going to try to connect by bloodlines, but they won't be able to be connected. It won't work. You see, brethren, what connects us as Israelites? The bloodline. The bloodline of Abraham that goes to Isaac, that goes to Jacob. Jacob's 12 sons became a nation. We are that bloodline nation. That's what connects us, the bloodline. They are going to try to be connected through bloodlines. The British aristocracy is entirely made from bloodlines. And that's an example of all of the children of Yafet's royalty. It's bloodlines. But it won't work. They're trying to connect themselves and unify themselves, but it won't work. Just like Nimrod had the Tower of Babel in order to connect the earth under him. And the confusing of the languages messed up the whole plan so that they could not get together. Okay? Now, so therefore, as much as they're going to try to unify by the bloodlines, it won't work. It's not going to work. Okay? Because it says they will not be able to cleave one to another. Okay, verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. I want you, please understand what Daniel is saying here. The kingdom shall not be left to other people. Why does he say that? It's an Israelite kingdom. And no other nation is going to take it over. Ever. In fact, notice what he says. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Now, let's go over what we know from our previous studies. You may not have been here, but look at our Daniel study in the Raw Hebrew Remnant section of YouTube, and you'll see there's a Daniel study that's made public, and you can find it, and you can go through it, and you can see this here. What I'm going to do is just cut to the chase and tell you. The Bible shows us Babylon, the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar, the Hamite kingdom was the gold. After his kingdom came the Persians with Medes. That's your first kingdom of children of Japhet, silver. Then came brass, the Greeks, first starting with Alexander. And they really spread their seed around. That's why the modern day Egyptians and the modern day even people from India, they are lighter in complexion because Alexander was really trying to mix that Greek seed. That's why you have Northern Africa and they look lighter than me sometimes, because Alexander was really mixing, trying to mix. He thought he could really whitewash the whole world. And in fact, if you actually look at it, Australia was the British trying to whitewash that area. When they came there was nobody that was lighter than me there. But they tried their best to wipe out the melanin and whitewash that whole continent. Okay? They tried their best. You cannot get rid of what the Most High has decided is going to be here, though. You can't. They could try, but it ain't going to work. See, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but it shall not cleave to one another. So, Babylon, Hamite kingdom, gold. Medes and the Persians, Japhet kingdom, silver. Greeks, Japhet kingdom, brass. Then came the Romans. They're the iron. Rome is the iron. Now, what is the clay? Some people say it represents Christians. It does. And why? Christianity came from Rome. Christianity came from Rome. And all of its offshoots came from Rome. As a matter of fact, Rome was first. Then came, and Rome established itself, of course, in Rome, children of Japhet area. Then after Rome, the next century came Islam. Islam, in its origin, is tied to Rome because the first wife of Muhammad, her father, was Roman Catholic. Her name was Khadijah, and her father was Roman Catholic. And she was the first wife of Muhammad, and she was older than him. Then both the Christians and what became Islam, which they had different names. They called them the Turks. They called them the Mohammedans. Eventually, they called them Muslims. Eventually, they are Muslim. That's what we have from today, Muslim. The Muslims at the time, as well as the Christians, wanted to control the trade route that came from China into Europe. There was one problem. The trade route went through these areas of these people called Kazakhs. And the Kazakhs were straight pagans. They wasn't going with Christianity or Islam. Yet they were under pressure from both. They chose C, Judaism, the religion of the Edomites. Judaism, another religion that's not biblical, but they use the Bible the way a woman uses a man to get in his pockets, but don't care about it. So now you had 3. And so everything that's not straight Roman Catholic is the clay. Because if they didn't create it or help create it, they took it over through the Jesuit order. So every religion on earth, Buddhist, Hindu, Judaism, Islam, has been infiltrated by the Jesuits of Rome. So that every non-iron is clay. Does that make sense, y'all? Because clay represents man. Let me show you from the word. Clay represents man. First, let's go. I just finished. I think it was just maybe about 2 or 3 days ago. I just finished reading Job. I'm in Psalms now. I just finished reading Job. And yes, wait a minute. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. It's Job chapter 4. It's Job chapter 4. This is Eliphaz trying to rebuke Job. But they said some words now. Them 3 friends of Job came and they brought some noise to Job. Plucked his last nerve. You know how we are. But Eliphaz, this is Eliphaz talking to Job, Job chapter 4. And I'm going to start at verse 17, Job chapter 4. I'm going to begin at verse 17, and I'm going to read down to verse 21. Okay, this is Job chapter 4 from verse 17 to verse 21. Shall mortal man be more just than the Most High? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly. How much less them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. They are destroyed from morning to evening. They perish forever without any regarding it. Doth not their excellency which is in them go away? They die, even without wisdom. See, so the clay, potter's clay, is like man, and man without the Most High is temporary. And all things man makes, including religion, is temporary. That's Job. Let's take another one. Second witness in the mouth of 2 or 3, right? Second witness. Psalms 2. Psalms 2, which is a messianic prophecy. Psalms 2, which also Peter used. I think it was in chapter 3 of Acts, chapter 3 or 4. Peter quoted this psalm. But let's take a look at this. We're going to start at verse 1. This is Psalm 2. Start at verse 1. And I'm going to go down to verse 9. This is Psalm 2 from verse 1 to 9. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed. Anointed is translated Messiah. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. Yahweh shall have them in derision. But then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. Yahweh hath said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. That is, like clay. That's man, heathen, man, goyim, goyi. That is just man without the Most High. That is the non-Israelite people of the earth, like a potter's vessel. crushed them in pieces. Okay? One more, which is really, I could use a different one, but I'm gonna use this one here because I used to think this was tied to it, but it is, but not in the way I thought since I've been awakened, praise the Most High. But in this one, this is Isaiah 64. Isaiah 64. I'm going to read Isaiah 64 from verse 4 down to verse 8. Isaiah 64 from verse 4 to verse 8. This is my third witness, if you will. Isaiah 64 from verse 4 to verse 8. For since the beginning of the world, men have not heard, nor perceived by the ear, neither hath the eye seen, O Most High, beside thee, what he hath prepared for them, for him that waiteth for him. Thou meetest him that rejoiceth and worketh righteousness, those that remember thee, in thy ways. Behold, thou art wroth, for we have sinned. In those is continuance, and we shall be saved. But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are as filthy rags, and we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities like the wind have taken us away. And remember, the whole statue became like the wind and the chaff and the summer threshing floor, and there was no place found for him. He said, here, those to say, he said, our iniquities like the wind have taken us away. For there is none that calleth upon thy name, that stirreth up himself to take hold of thee. For thou hast hid thy face from us, and hast consumed us because of our iniquities. And now, O Yahweh, thou art our Father, we are the clay, and thou art potter, and we all the work of thine hand. See now, in this particular verse, we see that Isaiah is using the people of Yah as the clay, with Yah himself being the potter. But that is not Daniel chapter 2. As you see, the stone destroyed the clay and the iron and all the statue. So those are not Yah's people. So why did I bring up this verse? Because the clay is the molding of the iron. The clay is the molding of the iron. The clay says to that iron, thou art our Father, we are the clay. You understand? Because the iron is the strength. See, it said it shall have in the strength of it, the iron. So the iron is the strength. The clay says to that iron, you are Father. See, and why do we say, let's break this down a little bit further. So therefore, the iron is the man-made religion that is set up by Satan. Revelation chapter 13. See, the beast that we're talking about here, it's the iron. Revelation 13, verse 1 and 2. This is still the iron. Revelation 13, because it's Rome. Revelation 13, verses 1 and 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea representing the Gentiles, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So the 7 heads were 7 names of blasphemy. Verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Remember, all the different metals were in one statue. All the different animals are the same. They're representing the metals in the same statue. Okay? And it says at the end of verse 2, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Now, wait a minute. So the devil is the dragon. So the dragon set up the iron. The dragon set up the iron and gave the iron power, seat, and authority. The Messiah says that Daniel Daniel prophesied about an abomination that makes desolation, that causes desolation, that maketh desolate. This is Matthew chapter 24. The Messiah talked about Daniel's prophecy, and let's take a look at it. This is Matthew chapter 24. And he talked about it as a sign. This is Matthew 24, verse 15. Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. The abomination of desolation, we're going to read in Daniel in a moment, is Christianity. And he says, when you see that stand in the holy place, in other words, at that time, when we were about to go into our captivity, which we are now still in, at that time, Rome put Caesar's image in the temple of Jerusalem. That was the sign, because Rome was the abomination that makes desolation. So he said, when you see it stand in the holy place, that is, they put Caesar's image in the temple. Now, you know, in the temple at Jerusalem, Gentiles weren't supposed to go in there at all. You remember how they accused Paul of bringing the Gentile into the temple? Okay. So in our day, it's when Christianity takes over the earth, which brings me to the thumbnail. In the thumbnail, this is the thing, brethren. There is a difference between the Messiah we follow and the Jesus Christ of Christianity. The Messiah we follow is a melanated man from the tribe of Judah. And his people, his chosen people that he came for, are Israelites by blood. He sent an Israelite by blood messenger, Paul, to give the message of the Hebrew Israelite Messiah to the children of Japhet. The Jesus Christ of Christianity is a Caucasian man. He is a Caucasian man that focuses on only or mostly the New Testament of the Bible. That all Christians have in common. They believe that Jesus Christ is a Caucasian man that focuses on the New Testament. So that Messiah is not ours. Our Messiah is the Son of the Heavenly Father, who said, Israel is the apple of my eye. Who said, I'm going to put chains of slavery around your neck? Who said you're going to be in slave ships? That's our Father, and that's our Messiah. So, this man in the thumbnail, Doug Wilson, yeah. He is a Christian nationalist, and he is advocating and is growing in popularity among the white Jesus Christians. And he advocates a nationalist Christian nation for the United States. By the way, I put the little, I looked at least 3 videos of him because I wanted to get a full sense of what he's talking about. But I put a pretty good one that explains it on a high level from CNN in the description box. I suggest you look at that. And in this description box, I describe him as the champion of Christianity. And that's what he is. He is the Christian champion. What do I mean by that? That means he is the leader. He is the hope. He is the main lightning rod in America, which will eventually point everybody to the new Pope and to Christianity, which is the new Pope's religion. Okay? So he is advocating a United States Christian nationalist nation. And he said that's what the founding fathers wanted. And I think he's right. He's not only that, he's saying he wants a Christian nationalist planet. The lady interviewed him and said, you mean planet? He said, yes, entire planet. And she said, but what about the Muslims? He said, they'll learn. Potter and clay. Potter and clay. He wants a Christian nationalist planet. Let's go back to Revelation 13 for a moment. Because you know, as I always tell y'all, the first beast of Revelation 13 is Rome. It is the Vatican. It is the Vatican as a Christian religion and a government. But I also told you that the second beast is the United States of America. And let's look at the United States of America there in Revelation 13 with respect to what we're talking about here, with respect to a Christian nationalist earth. Revelation 13, beginning at verse 11 and reading down to verse 15. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, which tells you the same power that gave seat and authority to Rome is given seat and authority to the United States, the same power. It's not our Messiah. It's the white Jesus Christian Messiah. Okay? Verse 12. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. The earth, that is everybody. I don't care what religion you think you are. He's telling you, you're going to give homage to Christianity. It's not just the Pope of Rome, it's Christianity. You're going to give homage to Christianity. I don't care what religion you are. That's what he said. And that's what's going to happen. Let's keep reading. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. What are we seeing now? Bombs. Bombs away is the way Donald Trump say. Wait a minute. Verse 14. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth. When you mention the earth, that means worldwide, y'all. That they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by the sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Man-made white Jesus Christianity is the image of the beast. It is the image of man-made white Jesus, Holy Father Pope. Now, I say this to say, what you're seeing with these things, please look at that video in the description box when you get a chance. I'd like to hear what you think about it. But it is the end, brethren. And I don't say that to make us scared. Like I said, we're not looking at the end in fear. We're looking at the end in anticipation, which is a little nervous, but excitement. Yes, they're going to want to kill us because we're not worshiping white Jesus Christianity. We're just not doing it. We're following the Bible and the Hebrew Messiah. We're going to be looked upon as heretics, as cultists, and all other things they can name because we refuse to worship white Jesus Christianity. We refuse. They'll even accept if you want to follow Islam, they'll let you go. You know why? Because they know Islam is what? Clay. Islam is clay. They know who the iron is. So they'll let you go. That's just one of the clay. You can even be a Hindu or a Buddhist if you want. That's one of the clay. You good. But don't say you're not following none of them. Don't say you want the Bible only. Don't say the Messiah is a melanated man of the Hebrews and that you're one of the Hebrews, because that goes against all man-made religion. Because man did not make Israel. Man did not make Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Man did not make the bloodline. The Father called the bloodline. And he called them into existence before the world was. So this man, Doug Jones, I think his name is, let's make sure I got that right. Doug Wilson, not Doug Jones. I say Doug Jones. Doug Wilson is his name. Doug Wilson. This man, he's the sign. He's a sign. Okay, he's the big sign. You're going to see this movement grow. You're already seeing, again, we talked about this before the last election was over, that Donald Trump is the head of the Christian nationalist movement in the United States. This Doug Wilson is just behind the scenes doing everything. Okay. But Donald Trump, and it's Donald Trump now, just for now. But really, it's whoever is in the White House, whoever the president is. If it's not Donald Trump, it's going to be J.D. Vance. Okay. I don't think we're going to see another president. Because, and I'm not saying that people ain't going to want to vote them out. I'm saying it's too late. It's too late. Okay. So you remember Lyndon B. Johnson? Lyndon B. Johnson was vice president when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. John F. Kennedy was assassinated in November of 1963. So that moment, Lyndon B. Johnson, who was the vice president, became president in 1963. And then he became president in 1964 by a landslide. And they said he was going to win again in 1968. But he decided, I'm not going to run again. There were a lot of things going on behind the scenes that caused him to say, I'm backing out. And then Richard Nixon became president in 1968. You got a very similar situation here. I don't expect Mr. Trump to last his 4 years. J.D. Vance will step in. And then he'll win again in 2028. J.D. Vance will, in a landslide. And then it's over. 2032 is an election year. And you know what, president, when people want to become president, you know they pull out all the stops in an election year. You know that, right? When they want to become president, they start promising anything the people want. It's going to be on. And y'all know, and I know, this is 7 years. That's going to go by like this. So us, we just need to focus on us and our Father. That's all. Us and our Father. He will take care of us. He will guide us. All bets are off, brethren. It's already on. Everything is happening. Right now, this year, I don't have to be a prophet to tell you, there's going to be terrible hurricanes this year, 2025. It's August. You're going to see some bad, you thought Helene was bad, you're going to see some bad hurricanes. You may see some earthquakes. You may see some tsunamis. There's going to be some stuff coming very shortly this year. Very shortly. It already started. Like Helene last year, it was Helene, came up the west coast of Florida, went through Georgia, South Carolina, went into North Carolina and hit them Trump towers with the noise. Hit them Trump towers. Went over there in Tennessee, hit them with the noise. Okay? We just saw it in San Antonio, Texas. Hit them with the noise. And then, of course, there's fires. And then there's been at least 2 tornadoes that destroyed towns in Kentucky in the last 12 months. At least 2. There might be more. Okay? You're going to see these things increase in intensity. And it's going to drive people to white Jesus. Now, there are going to be some children of your faith that wake up and understand this is for real. And they might come to the truth. There's going to be a remnant. We know 1/6 of them, right? Going to be a remnant. But most of them going to just be clay. And they're going to be following white Jesus and yelling and praying and chanting, "Oh, Baal, hear us," just like they did on Mount Carmel. Except they're going to be worse. And we're getting ready to receive the seal of the Father. Yes, that's right. So listen, that's where we're at. When I saw this Doug Wilson dude, I was like, okay, now we see what's up. Now we see what's up. And he has stretched. He done went into Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and took over Middle Tennessee. And he's stretching out his influence in the middle of America, right now. And he's already in the dude that's Hegseth. He's in the president cabinet. That's Doug Wilson dude. Doug Wilson can call President Trump. Yes, he can. It's already on, y'all. See? And so it's almost over. It's almost over. Sister Thesia ain't going to be in that grave long. Organic Fanatics mom ain't going to be in that grave long. My daddy ain't going to be in that grave long. It's coming quick, y'all. As been saying. But this was just another sign. I mean, this week, we had the usual round of people killing little babies, people killing their own children, the usual round of domestic violence ending in somebody's death, the usual round of multiple, what do you call that, mass shootings, usual. Every week we're now getting that. Isn't that right? Every week there's mass shootings. There's somebody killing their little babies, killing them in the house. They just arrested a woman. They found, she put out a letter because her 10-year-old was missing. Please find my son, she said. Please find my son. Please pray, find my son. They found him, and she buried him and had killed him. She killed him, his own mother. Okay? They found him. See? And they traced it back. See, today, they got cameras everywhere, DNA, and if you have a cell phone, they know where you are. They can trace you 100 different ways. Okay? And people still think, because people are getting worse in character, they think they can get over. They're getting caught, one after another. So she put out this handwritten note, please find my son, have people praying, and it was starting GoFundMes and all that. They caught her. She killed the little 10-year-old boy and buried him in the woods. They found him. Okay? And this is, like I said, this is a typical week, brother. This is a typical week. It's going on. Everything I just named goes on every week. Rape, murder, kill, children, parents, police killing people. It goes on every week. Okay? It's getting worse, and it's going to continue. That just shows us, brethren, it's almost over. What did Messiah say? When you see these things come to pass, look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. Brethren, look up. That's why you think we watching these moon phases. Why are we watching the moon phases? Because every month of the Hebrew calendar is 1 month closer to when it's all over. Right now, we're in the 5th month of this year. 1 month closer to when it's all over. I go outside. I was out there looking. I said, oh, there it is. 5th month. Countdown time, brethren. Because you know what? There's going to be a time when we're going to have to run. And we're not going to have a watch or a cell phone or a clock. We're going to have the moon phases. You're going to see the moon phases and the stars. And by that, you'll know where we are. Praise the Most High. And it won't be long you have to count either. No, it won't. It's going to be over soon. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom. Please again pray for Brother Thesia and his family.